my puppets. Here I am with my Grimm's fairy tales and my witchy work hat. Though it occurs to me that maybe it's a bit more like Mother Goose. But I don't have any of her stories, believe it or not. So we'll have to make do with these. Today, I'm going to go ahead and read you the story of Clever Gretel as I pull out my little bookmark. There once was a cook called Gretel whose shoes were red with their heels, and she went out and gave herself great airs and thought herself very fine indeed. When she came home again, she would drink of wine to refresh herself, and as that gave her an appetite, she would take some of the best of whatever she was cooking until she had had enough. For, she said, a cook must know how things taste. It happened that one day her master had come to her and said, Gretel, I expect a guest this evening, and you must ready a pair of the fowls. I will see to it, answered Gretel, and so she killed the fowls, cleaned them, and plucked them, putting them on a spit, and as evening drew near, she placed them before the fire to roast. And they began to be brown and were nearly done, but the guest had not come. Well, if he does not make haste, cried Gretel to her master, I must take them away from the fire. It's a pity and shame not to eat them now, just when they're done a turn. And the master said he would run himself and fetch the guest. So she took them off of the fire, saying, standing so long before that fire makes one hot and thirsty. And who knows when they'll come? In the meanwhile, I'll go down to the cellar and have a drink. And so down she ran, took up a mug, saying, Here's to me a good draught, and one good drink deserves another, having an additional hearty draught. Then when she had put the fowls down on the fire again, and basting them with butter, she turned the spit briskly around, and they began to smell so good. Well, that Gretel saying, I must find out whether they really are all right. And she licked her fingers and cried, Well, I never that the fowls are so good, and 'tis a shame that no one is here to eat them. So she ran to the window and see if her master and his guests were coming, but she could see nobody and went back to her fowls. Why, one of the wings is burning! And so she cut it off and ate it up, and it tasted very good. And then she thought, I'd better cut off the other two in case the master should miss anything. And when both of the wings had been disposed of, she went and looked for her master, but he still did not come. Well, who knows whether they are coming or not? They may have put up at an inn. And so after a pause, she said again, Well, come, I may make myself happy, and first I will make a good drink, and then a good meal. And when all is done, I shall be easy. The gifts of the gods should not be despised. And so first she ran off down into the cellar and had a famous drink, and ate up one of the fowls with relish. And when that was done, the master still had not come. So Gretel eyed the other fowl, saying, Well, what is with one, the other must be, and the two belong to each other. It's only fair that they should both be treated alike. Perhaps when I've had another drink, I shall be able to manage it. And so she took another hearty drink, and the second fowl went the way of the first. Just as she was in the middle of it, her master came back. Make haste, Gretel, he cried. The guest is coming directly. Well, what's she gonna do? Very well, she answered the master, and it will soon be ready. Well, so she went to see that the table was properly laid, and the master, taking a great carving knife with him, he meant to carve the fowls. He went to go sharpen it upon the step. Presently came the guest, knocking very genteelly and softly at the front door, and Gretel ran and looked to see who it was. And when she caught sight of the guest, she put her finger to her lips. Hush! Make the best haste you can, for if my master catches you, it will be really bad. Because He means to take off your ears! Just listen how he's sharpening the knife! The guest, hearing the sound of the sharpening knife, made off as fast as he could, and Gretel ran screaming to her master. "A pretty guest you have!" "And how so, Gretel?" asked the master. "What do you mean?" "Well, indeed," she said. "Why, he has gone up and run away with my pair of fowls that I had just dished up." "That's a pretty sort of conduct," said the master, feeling very sorry about the fowls. "He might have at least left me one, that I might have something to eat." And he called out to him to stop, but the guest made as if he did not hear him, and then ran after him, the knife still in hand, crying out, "Only one! Only one!" Meaning that the guest should leave him one of the fowls and not take both. But the guest thought he meant to have only one of his ears, and so he ran much faster than he might to get home with both of them safe. So clever Gretel has gone ahead and managed to get out of her greedy little giddy, but at the same time, it's very amusing to see how quick on her feet she has to be in order to make up for something like that. Especially when she didn't really expect them back and she was already probably pretty tipsy for all the wine that she's been having with those fowls. But here we are, and I shouldn't try and wait to let my chapped lip heal. I've missed you all so much, so I want to be able to talk to you whenever I can. I'll be back soon. Take care.